Hello, welcome to Executive Dashboard series from DoSQLBI.com. This dashboard series is a three-part series covering Power View dashboards, PPS dashboards, and SSRS dashboards and business alerts. In the previous videos on the Power View dashboard development, we went over business requirements and a pre-built solution walkthrough. We saw what are the various deployment options, and under development we already went over prerequisites, we saw the transaction data, we did the data model development, we then enriched that data model. In this video we will use the data model that we already developed and build the dashboards. Dashboard development is a two-step process. First, you develop the data model, which we have done using Excel 2013. When we do the data model development with Excel, Excel makes use of X velocity engine that is hosted within Excel. But we could also do the data model development using Visual Studio SSAS tabular project. When we do that, it makes use of SSAS tabular version. The tabular project with Visual Studio can be created in three different ways. One is we can directly create a new tabular project, or if some work has been already done, you could import it either from a Excel Power Pivot or existing SSAS tabular database. We'll just take a quick look at these last two options because in the previous videos we used Excel to do our data model development. Now just to get an idea, we'll quickly see how we can import that work from the Power Pivot, Excel Power Pivot or SSAS tabular. Let me switch to SQL Management Studio. What I have here is this is the SSAS tabular instance that's running. To this I have already created timesheet database, and the way I did that was by just saying restore from Power Pivot, and this Power Pivot is the Excel file that we were doing the data model development in. To show you the Power Pivot window, so this is the Power Pivot window in Excel where we had done the data model development. So first, this SSAS tabular version, we created the database by restoring it from the Power Pivot Excel file that we have. What you see below here is an SSAS instance, Power Pivot instance, which is configured when you configure Power Pivot for SharePoint. Now right now we don't have any database there. Even if I refresh it, it's just blank. What we want to see is how I can create my Visual Studio project either by importing from this SSAS tabular timesheet database or by importing it from the Excel. So let's go to Visual Studio Data Tools. I say File, New Project. When I click on Analysis Services, I have three options here for creating the tabular project. Number one, which is an analysis services project for creating a tabular models. So this is when I want to create it as a new, or I could import it from the Power Pivot file, which is create a tabular project by extracting the metadata and data from a Power Pivot for Excel workbook. Or the third possibility is import from server. So we'll use import from Power Pivot to create this project. Let's name it as timesheet. We need to give our tabular instance where the X velocity engine is available. So we'll give our local tabular instance, test the connection is successful. It's asking us to define which Power Pivot Excel workbook we need to import from. We selected that. It started reading that data model and the data with that. So it's both data model and the data that it would be reading, and it would create a Visual Studio tabular project by initially importing all the work that was done in Excel. Created the model, it's still importing the data. You see, while it is creating this project, let's see, did it create any ad hoc databases? We see here that we had defined the local tabular instance as a workspace for the Visual Studio tabular project, and it created this timesheet temporary database, and it uses the X velocity engine, that is local tabular instance. So once the project import is successful, you will have all the tables in your model. Like we see here, we have ARMS, project name, managers, and so on, which is same as we were earlier doing in the Power Pivot window in Excel. This was just to say that the model development can be done with Visual Studio Analysis Services tabular project as well. Let me switch back to our presentation. So what we saw is that data model development that we had done earlier with Excel 2013, we could also do that with Analysis Services tabular project using Visual Studio. And initially the project can be created either as a new tabular project, or we could import the existing model from the Power Pivot Excel workbook or Analysis Services tabular database. Hiding columns from the client tools. When we define the model, we may want to restrict the view of certain columns from the tools when we do the dashboard designing, so that only relevant columns that are used in the dashboards are available. So if I just go back to the data model here, this is the Excel Power Pivot window. You see some of these, in fact all these columns are grayed out. If I go to project name, both these columns are available for the client tools. Now this enabling and disabling is done by hiding or unhiding. Unhide from the client tools, then this would be visible. And if we don't do that, I have purposely kept all these invisible so that only relevant things can be available. That was about data model development. Next we see the dashboard development itself. Dashboard development can be done in Excel 2013. Again, when we do that Excel 2013, we know it uses X velocity engine hosted within Excel. Let's go and create one of the dashboard called as time off report. So we are in the Excel where we have all the tables that we made part of the data model in our previous sessions. Now what we do is we just go and insert the Power View sheet. So it inserted the Power View sheet here. Let me rename this to time off report. We go to employee, get the employee name and this year time off. We will change this to the bar chart so that we could see it as a chart data. I can sort it here by clicking this drop down and selecting time off here and descending. Let's add here the label current year time off. Now to the chart we can do some more settings in the layout. We can say that we don't want to see the title. We can say show the data labels and we scroll it a bit. We can increase the font if we want to or decrease it. I want to get the time of groups. In the world min leaves, we get the time of group. Now when I got this time of group, I want it to be used as a slicer so that I could select and see the data that is particular to that group. So while this is selected, I'll make it as a slicer. By making it as a slicer, if I click on any of the values, you see the other bar chart is changing, which is basically the employees who fall in group 1, which is up to 1 week of leave who have taken. then group 2. If I want to do the multi-select, I can do that as well. So those who fall in week 2 or 4. If I want to clear the filtering, I can just clear this clear filter icon here. So all of them are back. Now let's get time off, and from the week off we get month, year, name. Can just deselect it and select it again so that month here comes first, then comes the time off. I want to change this to a line chart. Let us drag it here. First drag it, make it smaller. So this gives me the view across the months, that how it has been taken. Suppose the trend of, see, all the graphs will get updated. Those who have taken up to 2 weeks, which part of the month, or I can clear this. We had earlier added the world minimum leaves based on which this grouping is done. We want to also display the list of the countries just to make it more useful. So we'll go to world min leaves and get this countries. Now what we can do to these countries is, if you just see, let's say I, without doing any change, I click on up to 1 weeks, it just showed me these are the countries that have mandatory leave of 1 week. If I say which are the ones that fall into 1 week and 3 week category, I get the list of that names. If I clear the filter, I see all the countries that are out there. We can do a little adjustment of this. See if we can spare some more space. I can just go say that in the layout, we don't want the title because it's sort of self-explanatory. I can take this little more up. Maybe first decrease this, then decrease little bit this. Okay, get it down, take it little up, take this one up, maybe make the font of this little bigger, and then subsequently increase this. Now what we did in this, let's save it, make sure we save it. This is the first dashboard we created out of our data model, a Power View report basically within Excel itself. And this was the current year time off. I can slice and dice. Suppose I want to see only for this employee, how has been his trend. I want to filter, I want to see multiple employees. I can multi-select this as well. I want to clear the filter, so I can just click anywhere, it clears the filter. I want to see any particular week, who are the employees that have taken 3 weeks, so 2 of them are there. I want to see one of them, how the trend has been, which months are more leave taking. I can zoom out, pop out any particular portion of the report, close this. I can pop in, I can deselect this filters, and then all the report is back. There are all different types of reports that one can create depending upon your data model. So let's come back to our, this was the time off report that we created. We will create 2 more reports under Excel 2013. One would be billing trend, and then summary view. That would be the pivot table report. Now the next report we do is the billing trend. We again go to insert and insert a Power View sheet. We name it as billing trend. We rename the sheet also to billing trend. So I just misspelled it. So this is billing trend. We can reduce it so that we get more space for the report contents. So we see billing type, and then we choose from week, month, year, name again, and from the ARMS timesheet we choose total hours. Now I want to see this as a line chart. So I would make month here as axis and billing type as a legend. Now scrolling it across, stretching it across. Okay, so let's get employee view, total hours, and the time off. Let's change this one to a chart. We'll then make it a stacked bar and stretch it a bit. Again, we can make it total hours and then descending. We just to make best use of the space on the given report, can go to the layout, remove the title, put the legends on the top so that we get more horizontal space. Let's get a manager view also. So I select manager name, total hours. We can make this also as a bar. Again, change the total hours descending. We don't want to see the title. Okay, so now we have, okay, what we can also do is remove the title from this one. We can also say show the data labels, and probably can add total hours and a time of label, increase its font, move it a little bit, we further increase its font. Let's also change its legends to the top so that we get more horizontal space. Move this label a little bit, we increase little more font. Now we have this report. So this report now, if I select on the manager name, it is showing me which are the employees who have worked on the projects for this particular manager and who has worked how much. It's also showing the cumulative trends. It's also showing the total hours done by that manager and the time off under time off by the employees while they were working on that manager's projects. I can multi-select here, can deselect it. I can select the employee and then see who has worked how much. This employee has worked how much in which manager's projects. Can deselect this. So this is the billing trend report that we did out of the dashboard. Next, we want to do the pivot table report. So let's go to the model view. In the Power Pivot window, we have this pivot table. Let me choose this particular one. So I'll say add a new worksheet. So the new worksheet was added. We move that worksheet to the end and rename it as summary view. In the first chart, we'll see billing type and total hours. Let's change the chart type to pie chart, and we can say billable and non-billable. Let's take practice name total billing. So we want to see billing by practice. Can edit the text billing by practice. In this one, let's take the manager name and see the billing done by the manager. Can change the chart type, make it bar, can move this label bit up, increase the chart space, we call it as billing by project manager. Get a little center. This one, let us get the year, the total billing. So did we choose? Okay, we choose the month here. It's just showing how we did from month on month. We could also do, if we have the year available, how we did the year on year. Because we have only 2 years of data available, it might be more meaningful to use month view, how the billing trend has been going. We can change this chart type to a line chart and make this month here as the axis. We can make it a little more good looking by changing the fill color. Maybe let's change it to this one. Can also change the fill color of the sheets also, and then see how it looks. Probably looks okay. Text is a little less visible. Can do this, can do same for this, and finally for this one, selecting the whole chart area, and we save it. we have option of adding slicers, and all those things can be done. You can change this option. You can change this text here saying it is billing over time. Save it once again. Let's come back to our presentation. So with Excel, we did 3 Power View reports using our data model. 2 of them were Power View type, and the third one was pivot table type. Next, what we do is we will use SharePoint and design our Power View report there. Let's see, how does that work. And for that, we will create one sample report, which is summary by practice report. Let's switch to, this is SharePoint 2013, and I have uploaded timesheet Power Pivot Excel workbook here. Now, from within SharePoint, to do the Power View report building, I would first need to go and create under Files. I will have to create this BI semantic model connection. So I click on this connection. I can give it the name. So let's say I say Excel, because I want to create a report from the Excel file. But before I do that, I have to come back here. See the path of this Excel workbook, which is this. I copy this. Now I again come under Files. I'll first create the BI semantic model connection. This I want to use with Excel. Semantic model connection, it gives me two options. Either to specify the workbook URL that has a Power Pivot data model in it, or the server. Now this server is basically, you can define the SSAS tabular server name. So right now I am giving the Excel workbook name. I removed that web parameter, and I'm saying okay. What it is going to do is, it's going to create a BI semantic model connection file that would be pointing to this timesheet Excel workbook that has a data model in it. Now in the meantime, we can come take a quick look at our management studio. Let me refresh here. This is the temporary database that was created by Visual Studio tabular project, and this is SharePoint for Power Pivot for SharePoint instance of analysis services, and there is no database yet there. So let's come back to SharePoint. It's still busy creating. Now what you see is it created here one semantic model connection. I can just in a similar way go create another connection, which let's say I call it as SSAS tabular, and then give the server name as my local server, and then the instance name. Now the database name that I have to give, if connection to the server, my database name is timesheet. I click OK. Now we have these two connections, BI semantic model connection. One is to the Excel file, which is this, and another is to the SSAS tabular instance database timesheet. Now if I go to each one of them, suppose I click here, I again expand it, I see this create Power View report option available. I can also go see the same option available here, create Power View report. If I create it out of here, that would be done again as the analysis services tabular instance. But if I do it against Excel, this would make use of Power Pivot for SharePoint as a working instance. So what I do, let's do that. We click here, create Power View report. So this is the design surface from within the SharePoint 2013, where we are creating the Power View report. Let's quickly switch to the SQL Management Studio, and this is the instance of Power Pivot that is used for SharePoint. Let me refresh. This time when we look here, it created one working instance of the database that it is using for our report development related activity or report rendering that we'll subsequently do. We want to create a report which is summary by practice. Summary by practice. Let's get year. Let's get a month name, practice name, total hours, increase its font size. We'll also increase the font size of this one. Make it a slicer also so that we could use it for filtering. Make year also as slicer. Increase its font. It has some blanks, so how we can do that is with the, let's see it here. I drop the year to the filters and I say in the condition is not blank, I apply the filters. So I got rid of the filters, blanks. Let us get the total and the weekends. Increase its font size. Make it a card. Then we can say what style it should be. Make it call out. Okay. Again, copy this, paste it here, and change it to pie chart. Can increase its size. Can get billing type. Total. Make it a chart. Increase its length. Now this is the report that we did. If I click on 2012, all the other parts of the report should get updated. If I select on any particular month, shows that I can remove this filter here, and all the numbers are getting updated. Now this is within SharePoint 2013. I can save this. What it is basically doing is it's creating the RDLX file. I'm saving this, and I can go back to the document list, where if I refresh, I will have this timesheet RDLX file. Let's switch back to presentation. So we did one of the report in SharePoint. This brings us to the end of this series of videos on Power View dashboard development. Under the development videos, we looked at the prerequisites for doing the development. The next step was to explore the transaction data. Once that was done, we looked at building data model for our dashboard development. Once the data model was developed, we enriched that data model with calculated members, aggregations, and by mashing up of the externally available data. And at the end, which was this video, we looked at how to build the dashboards. In this overall series of Power View dashboards, we did business scenario discussions in the beginning. We looked at the pre-built solution based on the business scenario that was discussed. Then we looked at the deployment options. What are various options where all we could deploy this Power View dashboards? And the last few videos were on the development details, how we can do the development of such dashboards. I hope this series was helpful. I'm Nasir Ali Mirza at DoSQLBI.com. Thank you.